All right, welcome to the latest edition or the newest edition of the Archer Aviation podcast. I got my guy Goat Gaines right here
Hello.
with me. We are missing one of the brothers. Big shout out to Liam. So, as you all know, Goat as well as myself, regulars on the Hustle Brothers channel. So, before we get started, big shout out to Liam. If you haven't followed the Hustle Brothers, go jump over to that YouTube page, Hustle Brothers on YouTube, Hustle Brothers on X. And also, while you're there, you got Goat Gains. Follow him on X. He's got a great YouTube page. And for myself, this is Stock Dylan. And usually, I guess I started this out with, "Hey, it's Dylan." So here we go. But
Hey,
we're gonna
Dylan.
get in. We're gonna do a little bit Archer Aviation talk today, and with my good friend Goat. So, Goat, how you doing today?
We're doing good today, or excuse me, this week was a wonderful week for the entire eVTOL sector. We've got at the high points, Joby Aviation. We'll just name the top two because
Yeah.
they're the top two. Joby Aviation tapped above $12 a share. Archer Aviation tapped above 7. Didn't quite hold it, but that's kind of a good thing because if it just keeps going up and up and up, the crash is a lot harder. If you go ahead and have that little premature crash, and then it gives you more room to go up. So I'm set. Everything, in my opinion, worked out perfectly. I am thrilled to death just to be part of the eVTOL sector. I'm thrilled to death that you had me on your show today, and yeah, I'm just generally just in a very happy mood. I'm just glad to be alive. It's one of those days.
No, thanks for being here, Goat. And no, you've been making the night. And just so everybody knows, me and Goat, we're talking before, and it's kind of interesting. It's like as much Archer and eVTOL information that we can talk. I kind of forgot that it's been such a green week in the
Yeah,
eVTOL sector. So, like, thanks for highlighting that
yeah.
because, like, no joke, I kind of forgot that we were actually like leveling up this week and things have been looking good.
It actually feels good for once.
Yeah.
We can talk about how, oh yeah, this is awesome. We're at $5 a share for Archer, but no, we were actually, it actually feels like we're slowly coming out of the trenches, like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme when he's
Mhm.
crawling out of that trench. That's how we feel right now. We ain't out of it yet.
I,
We're not even
I,
close,
I
but it
think
feels
that,
better.
I think that is so perfect, go. And no, and it's one of those things where it's like, I felt like all the semis were running, and saying it seemed like the eVTOLs were kind of lagging, and I felt like it took a lot of grit to kind of hang in there and
Yes.
hold the positions, and not bail out kind of on that hot stock of the day or hot stock of the week that was going. So yeah, no, I'm happy for the eVTOL sector, but again, I'm always going to be really happy for really all the investors and enthusiasts in the sector, because again, what you have me thinking is, all those buys in and around 480 and that $5 range. You look like a great investor today, as it sits a good percentage above that. So yeah, anybody that was taking advantage of those dip buys, the high sixes and sevens, not a bad place to be. So no, I like that, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you ask me, the high 6 and the high 7 is still supremely undervalued compared
Mm,
to last year, where we had this little band of uh, 899 was the lower resistance, and about 1020 was the higher resistance.
yeah.
And anytime we broke past that 1020, you could almost guarantee that it was going back down to 899. And that's just how it was last year. I'd love to get back to those levels, but at the end of the day, it's
Mm,
not where you are this year. It's where you are in 2020, or excuse me, 2030, because
mhm,
that's when this thing's really going to take off. So if you're a long term investor, you don't care about the stock price right now. I mean, yeah, it may look
mm,
bad to be down a couple $1,000s,
yeah.
but at the end of the day, when it's 2030, you're going to be very happy, I believe. But that's not financial advice. I'm just
No,
gotta say that.
no, and I'm with you. And I think again, it kind of brings in that long-term investor mindset. And again, like we're gonna have those volatility swings where whether it's options, whether it's buying the equity shares and flipping them, like there's gonna be those opportunities where you can turn the shares over. There's gonna be those consolidating ranges.
Exactly.
Um, and what you also have me thinking of is, as we kind of ladder up, I did think of Archer coming into this year a little bit of again off that trail of Joby. So
Mhm.
even around, if you take this time of year last year, this is when these stocks started stepping, kind of stair stepping up. You had some news about Q3 possible entry into services into Dubai, and then you
Mhm.
started having Joby do like the piloted test flight over in Dubai, Saudi Arabia. I think theirs was. So I almost now think with Archer, and again, there's going to be a lot of catalysts. There's going to be a lot of those, buy the rumor, sell the news sort of events. But it's like when those events come, like, are those going to be important enough events or sticky enough events that are going to allow this stock, to find that new range and hold, minus macro, consolidations?
Yeah. Well, macro's been a key factor in getting us down this far, and I certainly think it'll help us get us out of this trench, which it
Mm,
has already because we hit $7 just on macro alone yesterday. And what I think, because there wasn't any real news come out about
sure.
Archer Aviation specifically. You could say the drone thing maybe could have helped, but Archer's not really a drone. It's closer to a plane than a drone.
Hmm.
So I think most of that was macro. But the way we get out of this trench completely is a transition flight. So
Sure.
Archer said on their last Q1 or excuse me Q2 earnings call
That's
that
crazy, right?
they will be doing a transition flight next or in the second half of 2026. So that would be July 1st from there. So
Hmm.
June, it's not going to happen in June. We've confirmed that.
Yeah.
Um, for they also said that they would start commercial operations towards the end of the year. So
Hmm.
for say you have December operations beginning, you would ideally have a transition July, August, September, and then commercial ops would start, towards the end of the year. So
I like that. And as as you started talking, I was literally writing down, and the word I wrote was drone. And then you started talking about the macro and the drone coming up.
yeah,
And I
we're on the
agree
same
with you.
page, man. I'm telling you.
It's really locked in, and it's like I was thinking the same thing you were, where it's like I'm not equating Archer directly to like a drone contract per se that comes in. And even when it spins into like the Omen drone and such, it's like I can't necessarily say that that's a play towards Archer definitively, because again, that's the
Yeah,
powertrain supply going in there.
right.
But again, if that's some, if some of this drone money is passed over to Andrew, maybe there could be a little bit more of a dot connection in there.
Yeah,
Again, I'm always going to try to lead against like connecting the dots and like wanting those like to really actually be there. But just kind of putting it out there. But it did also have me thinking just of a general timetable, and I want to go back and kind of fact check this as well, which is why I wrote down drones. So you just literally popped this into my head, where when they had the executive order last year, and it was the drone dominance executive order, I think came out.
yeah.
And that's what had the EIPP, I believe, tucked into it.
I think you're right. Yeah,
Unless I'm getting one executive order off. But I believe, if anything, that it was really the drone executive order that kind of set off that talk of the EIPP and those executive orders coming into place, kind of the ramp of the eVTOL sector and such. So I don't know. Maybe again, we're just at that kind of seasonal part of the year where actually, now that I think about it, getting into like federal budgets, we're really in the final quarter for a federal budget, because there's
yeah.
going to end on September 30th, reopen on October 1st. So we're
Right.
actually getting into the last 3 months of spend that basically these agencies are going to want to do. And probably you don't have a lot of these agencies going back to a general fund. I'm not totally sure about federal government, but you might be in a lot of those situations where it's that kind of use it or lose it fund. So all this money that's been dished over to the FAA and DOT, they got, I think it was 12.5 billion or so. So again, they're going to kind of be working through that. And then I think as we start to see any proposals, I feel like I heard Duffy talking something around 20 billion that might be proposed for the FY27 budget.
Okay.
And then having that roll into the ATC, the software, and
Right.
maybe what's going on at Hawthorne. So I'll throw you a random question. Go. What do
Yeah.
you think? What do you think's going on at Hawthorne? What's up with Hawthorne these
Well,
days?
so
Is it
right
worth
now, and
watching?
this is all speculation. Let me just say that up front. I
Yeah.
have never been to Hawthorne Airport. I know some people that have, and I'm basing a lot of what I'm about to say off of their experiences because
Yeah.
I've never been there. So what I'm hearing right now is that Hawthorne is they've got the Archer logos up. They've
Mm,
got a display model out right where you land. So everybody on an airplane landing is going to be able to see their display model. They own Hawthorne,
nice.
but they're not quite ready for operations yet, because you got to think about it. They have 3 aircraft right now. 2 of them are in the States, one of them's in the UAE, and that would be in 302 AX is in the UAE.
Yep.
And we haven't heard from it in a while. I'm assuming it's flying privately. We don't know. That's So Hawthorne is very interesting because of the location. That's the whole thing with Hawthorne. You're right outside of SoFi Stadium, right outside of LAX, right. You're right in that dead center of Los Angeles, right where all these hops are going to be made. So SoFi Stadium, Hawthorne to LAX, Hawthorne to Huntington Beach. You've got all that, so much population packed into that one area. And that's why Hawthorne's such a good place. But as for what's actually happening at Hawthorne, we do know that they've been bringing in revenue from the hangar rent.
Yep.
So we know that. From what I'm seeing right now, it looks like it's just they're putting their logo on it. They're building the infrastructure, but they're not really operating around it. We know 703AX is flying out of Salinas and actually flew out. Was that yesterday you called that?
27.
Okay.
27. Yeah. On it. Yeah.
Okay. So 302 or 703AX. Right. There's so many planes, man.
I was gonna say, isn't it nice to have enough planes that we can like get these numbers mixed up?
We're stuttering over our words now.
I like it.
Wait till 709AX comes out. It's gonna be
ready.
just
I'm ready.
But 703AX has been flying out of Salinas, and so has 704AX. But the interesting thing about 703AX is that the helicopter N22SD has been flying pretty much in tandem with 703AX. And I just find that cool because we know there's footage being taken. We know either one, there's footage being taken, there's pilots being trained, or there's data being collected, and any of those is a good thing.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely. And you have me, I need to write down everything that you have me start thinking, because it's going to go away so quick. But one thing that stuck was, when we think about Hawthorne too, like maybe one of the little like smoke signals there is going to be some of the beta charging network. So like when that infrastructure does start to get placed in there, maybe that's a little tell sign that, maybe we're going to get some MRO or some ability to actually like fly in or out of that space. Yes. And then you have me thinking, because you were talking about how prime that real estate is, and then you do have the World Cup coming up. And, maybe like a year ago, we would have been really bullish thinking that these aircraft were a little bit closer to type certification, and all that, being able to fly or, maybe present, I feel like a year and a half, even crazy ideas of like Archer's going to be dropping the first ball, on the pitch for the World Cup and stuff. So that may not be happening. They may not be VTOLing down the first ball for this World Cup. But with Joby being able to fly in California under an experimental aircraft, what's the chances that we could see a variation of a Archer aircraft flying, or even to broaden it out to the sector, maybe making a pass over at the World Cup and at least showing off, kind of that technology that's been growing in the U.S.
Well, with N703 flying as much as it's been, it has actually been flying more than N704AX has recently. And so that tells me they're getting ready for something. So they could easily fly that thing over to Hawthorne, land CTOL, and then when the time's right, they could literally fly it, like you said, over the Olympic Games. And so I think SoFi Stadium's having a lot of the Olympic Games. Somebody fact check me on that, but I believe that's the whole point for that. So I mean, just an easy little flyover, and
I like that.
I know they're going to have a bunch of their models over there, because that's kind of the whole thing. We can't fly full scale yet, but look at this. This is really cool. And then what if you just got 703X just doing loops around the thing, around the stadium the whole time? That'd be just hilarious.
Well, because that's kind of like, even as you said, and actually I took this video, I didn't put it on X, and I meant to go put it on X right away. And it was, I was walking into work, and there was like these 2 helicopters that were flying overhead. And generally, when they were right overhead, obviously the acoustics were loud. Right. But then again, they get to a point where they're out of sight, and I'm still hearing that chopper noise.
Right.
So it kind of made me think like, okay, if I was looking at two midnights, maybe again in that one block radius, I'm going to be hearing that 45 decibel ish range,
Yeah.
that quiet conversation. But again, once they leave that block radius, I'm not going to hear, I'll probably not hear the midnight before I won't see the midnight,
Right.
So,
That's a
so
good
that
point.
is kind of interesting. Yeah. To fly in that range. Cause again, if you do that, if you do that flyover, yes, you're not showing off VTOL technology to the World Cup, but you are showing off I'm still going to call it an eVTOL aircraft, even though it's a CTOL.
Right.
To not to mince that, but you're still showing off the electric aircraft really in that presentation form
Hmm.
that it would be flying if it was doing, just like you said, a flyover of the World Cup and such.
Yeah.
So, no, I think that's actually something real exciting that could be looked forward to coming up. So, but yeah, let's see. So they've been flying CTOL. We were saying that the telemetry on 704AX has been interesting. Where it was you were saying it's about a month ago or so where we were seeing kind of more. What would you say? More altitude
Yeah,
range.
more altitude and more, just more overall. It was more scheduled testing. I guess that's a good word for it.
Sure.
Yeah, but
And so
go ahead.
And so, on like the telemetry that they've been doing now, do you think that that might be something where they're like taxiing it out, like doing light hover, or it's one of those again where those ADSBs, it's like,
Yeah,
are they really tracking that true altitude? So
yeah,
it's like seeing the altitude that did show a month ago versus the altitude and knots that have been showing over the last month. So it's like it seems like something's been going on with the aircraft, but it's just not as, I guess, for me, like in front of my face on the specs of what they've been doing. So it's
yeah.
like, yeah, it is curious to me.
Well, it's what I'm seeing, and the ADSB is by no means a perfect telemetry device. Okay, but what it looks like to me, combining the telemetry and the pictures that Archer Aviation has posted themselves, you
Mhm.
see a clearer picture of what's going on. So originally we were just doing straight up and down hover test. Then we went
Yeah.
from okay, we're going to go up, and then we're going to go over a little bit, and then we're going to go back, and then we're going to land, just like my
Yeah.
arm just did.
Yeah.
And uh, then we had the aircraft taking up the whole runway in what looked like a hover test, and then Archer Aviation post the N704AX with the wings in the CTOL takeoff position.
Yeah.
So the wings originally for a hover test would be pointing upwards, and in this picture they're pointing forwards on the ground. So that means to me that they're about to probably do a CTOL flight in the near future. They will
Mhm.
definitely test that first, just to test the. Obviously, they want it to do both. Get you a man that can do both, because not everybody can.
I like
But
that. I like
uh,
that. No,
they,
and I kind of agree, and it's like I go back and forth with the CETO with
yeah,
704, but I do think when I listen to you and talk about kind of like just testing out the general flights, the flight structure of the aircraft, getting it in the air at certain speeds at the certain altitudes,
yeah,
again, because Adam's always preached that safety is key to him, so. I do take it as a positive sign that Adam does feel comfortable to put a pilot in the seat of 704AX as well as 703AX, which seems like it's getting very light MRO and on that turnaround when it's able to fly again. So
right,
to me, I like that sign. It's nice to see it doesn't have to shut down for a week before it flies again.
exactly.
And it's one of those things where it would be interesting if 704AX flew CTOL first. I'm assuming that it might be caught on FlightAware, but would it be one of those things that like Archer would not want to show in the sense of like making the investor base think that they're CTOL only when they know that they're kind of just gearing it up,
Right.
to prove out that VTOL. So but it makes so much sense that they would want to test it out CTOL though.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say lazy. Let's say the uninformed investor
Mm,
would see a CTOL takeoff, a CTOL landing, and say, "Oh crap!" But
hmm
somebody that's smart enough to watch this podcast would say, hey, they're going to do a CTOL because they want to make sure all the actual functions of the flight work before they do the flight. And it's kind of like it's kind of like a trial, uh,
Yeah,
free trial on the aircraft. You can make
I
sure
like that.
that everything, like uh, your hole and everything's intact, everything's going to work. The airplane will actually fly before you do the transition flight, and it's just smart in my opinion because we know Adam Goldstein's real big on safety. Like you said, he's not going to put a pilot in the aircraft if he thinks it's unsafe. But you know, it's just the right thing to do as a human being putting
Sure.
another human's life at risk. You want to do it as slowly as possible,
It's like,
and I'm okay if as long as they're certified by the Olympics, we're good.
yeah,
That's
and kind of like the saying, it's like you don't have to go from A to C, and
yeah,
if you've really been studying Archer and really seeing kind of that, I don't want to say game plan, that business plan that they've
right,
been putting forward, where they again may be able to be that company that's selling you those alternate models of what Midnight is. Really quick, I think I'll jump over and just kind of touch how Tom was talking on those clean sheet builds.
okay,
And when we look at the defense side, I don't know if I've spoke about this yet, but whether whoever wins a program of record first, whether it's L3 Harris or Andrew, I don't want either side to think that they have won the defense world in the eVTOL sector. So
right,
I'm only going to back this up to, I believe it was Tom was saying on the call where he was saying that again for a generally slapping on the hybrid powertrain was going to work for niche situations for the military. So, we have had, Joby has had, I believe, 2 aircraft out that have been tested. But again, it's like, what are those use cases for those aircraft, and what are those being tested on? Versus Archer going, again, the first principles approach, doing the clean sheet build. So again, it's not that you're having that commercial Midnight basically now just run on a different engine type.
right,
You're having what again, the company and Tom is saying, excuse me, is going to be a clean sheet build. So, it'll be interesting to see if there's any aesthetics of the Midnight, but it seems to be that it's going to be generally about the same commercial Midnight. But again, I guess my main point in that is it'll be interesting to see when these programmer records come out who gets the first one. But
right,
I guess I really don't want either side to really get down if it's not their company that gets it, because I think at the end, again, just like these companies are 2 different businesses, these might be 2 different, complete different, totally different defense use cases that these aircraft are going after. So, and go. I know you're big on the defense, so you feeling good about the Andrew. You still feeling good on
So
defense coming off the
the
call?
big thing right now with the Anduril partnership is Project NYX in the UK.
Yeah,
Um, that we just got bumped. Well, Anduril and Archer
yeah.
subsequently just got bumped up to the next phase in the selection process,
Mm.
which is huge. I can't remember who the contenders are. They're all UK based companies, so I don't really know them as well as I should. But knowing Anduril and knowing what Anduril's about, I know Anduril. When I look at Palmer Luckey, who is the CEO of Anduril,
Yeah,
he is literally Tony Stark. I don't know if y'all realize that or not, but he is
right.
literally Tony Stark.
Yeah,
He makes military weapons without being told what to make.
yeah.
Says, "Look at this awesome product," and they buy it.
There you go.
So
No, I like that.
he's literally Tony Stark, and we are partnered with Tony Stark. We are Captain
That's a
America.
doesn't
Whoever you want to call us.
I
So
like that metaphor. Go. No,
thank
I
you. I
like that.
appreciate it.
We got the partnership with Tony Stark now.
Yeah,
It's
I mean
like
he's
put that
literally
in.
Tony Stark, and he's a genius.
That
And
is
so
fair.
I think that's the most. I don't want to say underrated, but it's definitely a very important part of Archer.
Yeah,
When it comes to the American side of defense, it's going to be a lot more difficult because you got 2 very similar companies with 2 very similar defense contractors. So, but what's to say? I mean, there's so many countries in the world. So let's say L3 Harris gets the
very
partnership in
true.
Europe. Um, Andrew gets the deal in the UK. Then
Hmm.
Andrew gets the deal in Dubai, and Andrew gets the deal in the UAE, and then
That's a
uh,
great point.
L3 Harris gets a deal in Canada, and there's so much room. So if one of us, Joby
Hmm.
or Archer, get a partnership in America, the other one will be just fine. I
I, I
promise you. So if
I
one of them
like that.
gets it, don't go selling the other company. We'll be fine.
I like
Just
the way you put that, where
trust.
it's like literally that global opportunity
Yeah,
reach. Because again, it's when they're talking about the UK, it's like they're leaning into that verbiage of the US allies, and that's
right.
why they're willing to kind of help out on that side. And you had me thinking two things there, where one of the top four that were down selected was basically Vertical Aerospace and their defense partner. But what I found interesting was I was looking at the share price on Vertical, and it doesn't seem like there's been really like big upswings, I guess I'd say, in the share
Yeah.
price. I think it was around 220 or so the last time I was hearing it, or I'm sorry, looking at it. And I'm just kind of wondering if there was more sense that that deal was coming towards Vertical. Would there be more institutional investors or people that would start backing that, as that basically that again, because Vertical is over in the UK. That's Project Next is that UK Army loyal wingman. So again, you kind of have that like country already paired together. But it does seem like they are kind of outsourcing to the allies to get down selected, just like you're saying,
Yeah.
for that. And then we had and why not say this? We had Adam as as the actor that everybody says that Adam is. He came through. Adam's an
Literally.
actor. Hollywood Adam. Give big
Man,
shout out to Hollywood Adam. So we
what
did
can
it.
he not do? I
It,
mean,
right. It's like, so he landed Paramount or CBS Paramount Studios, is on the show Marshall. And when they were talking about it, and this is not a political sense at all, but just to what the show said, they were basically showcasing Midnight, and you basically had a minute airtime of Midnight and the CEO playing himself, representing his company, not bringing the eVTOL out there under a fake production name, not bringing Adam out under there under a fake character name. And then you have the character on the show who's like, I guess, the marshal,
yeah,
basically saying that it would be working for border protection. And I'm not saying, and basically again just saying that, like, you literally have, and again I get it's a show, but
right.
you have a government agency kind of speaking about what a type of use case of an aircraft that can go 150 miles per hour and have a very low thermal and noise profile along with it. And
Mhm.
what, again, maybe if the government is prone to do, may lean into, like you're saying, some of those defense contracts that can
Yeah.
come too.
And that's the whole thing. It's quiet. It doesn't show up on a thermal radar. I mean,
No.
it's literally just let's not talk about just Archer. Let's talk about everybody right now. The
Yeah.
eVTOLs are the future for defense, for travel, and it's just so amazing that we haven't been doing this already.
There you go.
It's so obvious in hindsight. Like, you don't want the enemy to see you. Okay, don't let them hear you. You
That's
know.
it. And how do you get that done? Low thermal and
Yeah.
low acoustic.
I mean, it just seems so obvious, but I understand the battery technology may not have been all there until recently, and it may not still be there if you ask some companies. But
But that's a smart observation.
right, and you know, so it just seems really obvious to me. But
But
um,
it's so true though, like you're saying, like between the battery tech, the software, how it's all just really seeming to align. You have the executive orders that are really pushing forward. You got Duffy with the FAA,
mhm,
Bedford. So, again, there's a lot that both going to have to happen in fiscal year 27 for the budget to go ahead and push the eVTOLs forward. And there's a lot that these companies still have to do to continue to push their companies forward. But from everything I'm seeing, again, you take 6 months ago, are they doing the things that people said they would not do? I would say yes. And again, with Archer, I would just take a chance to go back, two earnings calls, maybe a third, and see if what they've said two earnings calls have come to fruition. It
yeah,
may not always be that very last earnings call, but we did hear about the Karam and the over air acquisitions more on this call, which
yes,
seem to be leading into, again, the defense partnerships that could be growing. So it's like they go make these acquisitions and we may not hear about it. We may have to speculate for 4 or 5 months on what Archer's doing. Are they, what kind of build are they doing? But, if we hang in there, listen to the guidance, listen to the calls, and really listen to what's being said, you know, those answers might be there.
There you go. Yes, sir.
All right. Go before we head out. Is there anything that you'd like to send the people out on? Any final words?
Well, I just want to say it is great to be a investor in such a, you look at the stock prices and you think, oh wow, they're probably just now coming along as a community, but this community is already so big. There's so
That's
many
true.
people that love eVTOLs, that are enthusiastic about eVTOLs. And I'm just so glad to not only bring y'all content, but to learn from y'all. I learned more about eVTOLs from people in my comment section on X and on YouTube than I
That's so
learned
true.
about actually doing research. And that's the
Yeah.
amazing thing about this. So thank you to y'all for giving me some information. And I hope that this video has been beneficial and I gave you some information, that Dylan's gave you information. I know he's one of the smartest guys I know. He gave you a lot you didn't already know. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad y'all had me, and I'm glad y'all watched till the end.
My man. And I second that. I learned a lot from Goat. As y'all probably saw, I was looking down, taking notes, because talking with this guy, it just really does kind of highlight those kind of new thoughts or those revolving thoughts I have. So before I head out, again, want to give a big shout out first to Liam, Hustle Brothers. So again, if you haven't, give Liam a follow on the Hustle Brothers channel. I want to give a big, big, big thank you for Goat for coming on. So go check out Go Games on X.
And
He
thank you
does.
for having me.
Oh, anytime. You are welcome back anytime, my friend. He's like, I'm gonna be over for dinner tomorrow, and we'll have him. And it's like, go check out Go Games on X. Like honestly, since I've been following Go, it's just been so nice to see like the immersive experience that he puts into the eVTOL sector and into Archer. And like I know he does this with his time and his passion. So Go Games on X, Go Games on YouTube. And I guess to head out, I hope everybody in the community has a great day, and I'll see you again.